Good evening. Welcome back to Mind Twist Horror. Tonight, I want you to settle in. Loosen your thoughts. Let the rain take care of the silence around you. Breathe. Because what you're about to hear isn't just a story. It's a memory. Or maybe, a warning. And it begins with something I can't explain. Something I still don't fully believe, even though I lived it. You see, years ago, before I ever stepped foot inside that place, I started dreaming about a house. Not a normal dream. Not just walls and furniture and creaky doors. This house was aware. It waited. It listened. I knew the smell of its wood. I could feel the weight of its silence. It had rooms I couldn't enter, and yet they called to me by name. And then one day, without warning, I saw it. Not in sleep. Not in my imagination. I was driving down a forgotten country road. The storm had just passed. And there it was, standing quiet behind a curtain of trees. The same cracked shutters. The same broken chimney. Even the window, the one I'd looked out of in those dreams, it was wide open. As if it knew I was coming. As if it had dreamed me first. I found the house on accident. A dirt road I'd never seen before. In a part of town I wasn't supposed to be in. I wasn't even trying to get there. Just driving. Wandering. But then, my GPS froze. The screen dimmed. And in those glowing letters, it said one word. Home. That's when I looked up. And saw it. The house. It stood crooked, like it had leaned forward to greet me. The trees bent around it. As if they didn't want to touch its roof. The grass was dead, but the porch light was on. I slowed the car. The mailbox had no number. No name. No markings. Just rust. And a door barely hanging from its hinges. Then. I heard it. A whisper. Faint. Breathy. Right behind my ear. Welcome back. My chest locked up. No one was there. I looked in the rearview mirror. Nothing but trees. But something inside that house, or maybe inside me, started pulling. Not curiosity. Not fear. More like gravity. The same pull you feel in dreams. You know the hallway is wrong. You know you shouldn't go in. But your legs are already walking. And you're too late to stop them. I left the car running. Keys in the ignition. Just in case I needed to run. But my feet crunched over gravel like I'd done it before. Like I'd stood on that porch 100 times in another life. I didn't knock. I didn't need to. Because the door opened for me. Slowly. Quietly. And the smell hit me. Not rot. Not dust. It smelled like wet pine and old pages. Like something ancient trying to stay young. The light inside flickered. Yellow. Sickly. Like it came from a different decade. I stepped through. And everything in my body screamed at me to leave. But I couldn't. Because the house. It was breathing. I heard it. Under the floorboards. In the walls. A slow inhale. And an even slower exhale. Like it had just woken up. It smelled like old wood and warm dust. Not the kind of dust that makes you sneeze. The kind that settles on things forgotten. And yet, as I walked through the living room, I couldn't help but feel like it had all been waiting for me. The cushions were sunken, just like they used to be. The lamp in the corner flickered exactly twice before going out. The coffee table had a faint ring of water, as if I'd just finished a drink. But I hadn't. I walked into the kitchen. Peeling wallpaper. The faint tick of an old clock. And in the sink, one coffee mug. A chipped white ceramic with dark lettering. 3 letters scratched into the side. My initials. My legs went weak. I reached for it. And it was warm. Something was off, but my body kept moving like it knew the layout. I turned down the hallway. Old portraits lined the wall. But none of the faces had eyes. Just blank, smooth skin, stretched over where sight should be. Still, they were staring. And I could feel it. The second door on the right. I hadn't counted them. But I knew that was my room. Even though I'd never lived here. Even though I'd never stepped foot inside this house before tonight. I put my hand on the knob. And the wood beneath my fingers felt warm. Almost like a pulse. When the door creaked open. There it was. A twin bed. A lamp. A cracked mirror hanging crooked on the wall. And above the bed. A painting. Not of a person. Not of a place. It was a painting, of me. Sleeping. Exactly how I looked now. Same clothes. Same position. Same scar on my neck. Painted, in red. I backed away. But behind me, the door slammed shut. The light flickered, then dimmed, until the whole room felt underwater. And then I heard it. That voice. From earlier. Only this time. It wasn't whispering anymore. It was singing. Low. Childlike. Out of tune. Welcome home. You always knew. The house would dream. And so would you. My hands were shaking. I looked in the mirror. And for a split second. My reflection didn't move. It just stared at me. Mouth slightly open, eyes wide. Then it smiled. A wide, too wide grin that tore the corners of its mouth. And then, the lights went out. All of them. And I was no longer standing in a room. I was standing in the house's memory. There was one door I didn't recognize. Tucked behind the staircase. No trim. No light fixture. Just a wooden panel, like it didn't want to be seen. It wasn't in any of the floorboards I remembered. Not in the dream versions, not even in the painting. But it was real now. And it was slightly open. I reached for the handle. But it moved before I touched it. The door creaked open, slow, reluctant. I braced myself for stairs. Old wooden steps. Dust. Cobwebs. Darkness. But there were none. Just a mirror. Tall. Ancient. Framed in black iron vines. I stepped closer. And saw myself. But not quite. My clothes were the same. My expression, blank. But something was wrong. There was someone behind me. A man. Tall. Thin. Eyes hollowed out like burned paper. But when I turned around, there was no one there. Only, in the mirror, he was still behind me. I tried to step away. But my body didn't move. Only the reflection moved. He, not me, turned his head toward the figure. And he smiled. The mirror me smiled wide, like he'd been waiting years to do it. Then the light above me sparked, once. Twice. And shattered. Glass hit my shoulders like cold rain. The room went pitch black. Then I heard it. Breathing. Not near me. Inside me. Like something else had started sharing my lungs. And beneath the breathing, a voice. Childlike. Soft. We remember you. Suddenly, the floor under my feet was no longer wood. It was dirt. I looked down. Where the mirror had been, was now a pit. And inside it. Thousands of tiny hands. Reaching. Clawing. Grabbing. Pale, childlike hands with blackened fingernails. I tried to back up, but the door behind me was gone. No stairs. No exit. Just four cold walls that felt like they were breathing in sync with me. The whisper came again, closer this time. You left us here. I tried to say, but my voice cracked. And then the hands stopped moving. One voice, right at my ear. Then why do we remember your name? My knees buckled. I fell into the dirt, arms catching myself just inches from the pit. And deep inside, I saw it. Not a face. Not a person. A reflection, but twisted. A version of me with a stitched mouth and blackened eyes. Clawing its way up, like it had been trapped in a dream I forgot to wake from. I screamed, not out loud, but in my head. And suddenly I was standing back in the hallway. Just like that. Only. This time, the entire house was different. Every wall was mirrored. Every surface reflected only one thing. The basement door. And carved into every reflection were 3 words. You came back. So now I don't know where I am anymore. I don't know if I ever left that house. Or if I ever really woke up. Sometimes I think I'm walking through my apartment. Sometimes I think I'm dreaming again. But most nights, I just feel watched. There's breathing in my mirror. Not every time. But when the room goes quiet, and I let myself stop pretending, I hear it. Faint. Wet. Human. Right on the other side of the glass. Breathing like it's waiting for me to fall asleep again. And I do. I fall asleep every night hoping I'll wake up normal. But I don't. I wake up in the hallway. Or the kitchen. Or the second-floor guest room that I never remembered building. There's always one light on. One window cracked. One door open. And that same coffee mug. Waiting for me. In the dream. I walk through endless hallways. I open door after door, and they all lead back to each other. Like a maze built just for me. Sometimes, I hear someone else walking. Bare feet on wood. Dragging something behind them. But I never see them. One night, I opened a door. And saw myself in bed. Sleeping. I watched me shift under the covers. Twitch. Murmur. And behind me, the house leaned in. The walls bent like ribs. The door closed itself behind me. And I realized, this version of me was never going to wake up. So if you're still listening, if your eyes are still open, promise me something. If you're ever driving at night, and your GPS takes you to a place you don't remember, and you see a house with the lights already on, don't go inside. Because once the house dreams of you, you never wake up again. If this house found you tonight, leave a comment, I've been there before. And subscribe, before it finds you again. If you're still awake, don't get too comfortable. Here's the next one. Story 2. They say when someone dies alone, something of them stays behind. Not a ghost. Not a soul. But something quieter. Something that lingers, in the silence. Between the walls. I wasn't close to Uncle Richard. Truth is, I hadn't seen him in years. He stopped coming to holidays. Stopped answering calls. And when the neighbors finally reported the smell, he'd been gone for weeks. But out of everyone in the family, he left the house to me. No one else wanted it anyway. A 3-story townhouse, nearly 100 years old. Nestled at the end of a dead street. Where the lamps don't work. And the fog never clears. The will was short. Barely a page. Just a name, an address. And one handwritten line at the bottom. Keep the walls sealed. Never talk back. I should have laughed. Should have raised a glass to my paranoid old uncle. And sold the place for parts. But I didn't. I moved in. The front door was already unlocked. The keys didn't matter. It felt like the house had been, waiting. The walls were, breathing. But I told myself it was just old pipes. Just wood. Just wind. I was wrong. The first few nights in the house were quiet. Too quiet. No car sounds. No neighbors. No city buzz. Just the house. Settling. Breathing. Watching. At first. I thought it was the pipes. That's what I told myself. Old houses groan. Moan. Stretch. But then I noticed it was only at night. And always, from the same place. My bedroom wall. I'd be lying in bed, just drifting off. And then I'd hear it. At first, I thought I was dreaming. But then came another night. It didn't sound like a leak. Didn't sound like rats. It sounded lonely. It spoke to me. Not loud. Not angry. But intimate. Familiar. I stayed still. Pretended to sleep. But my eyes stayed open, staring at that wall. I placed my ear to the plaster the next morning. Nothing. No sound. No movement. But that night, the voice came back. I got up. Knocked on the wall. I shouldn't have done that. I remembered the will. Keep the walls sealed. Never talk back. But it was already too late. By the fifth night, I hadn't slept. Every time I closed my eyes, it spoke to me. First in whispers. Then in sentences. At 2:41 a.m., it said that he shouldn't have left us. The voice didn't sound angry. It sounded hurt. Betrayed. I started leaving the bedroom light on. Keeping my phone flashlight nearby. Just in case. But light didn't matter. Because no matter how bright the room was, the house still breathed. The floor pulsed under my feet. The walls murmured. Sometimes, I heard my name. Not shouted. Not whispered. Just, spoken. Gently. That one came on a Sunday. You're better than him. Better than who? I hadn't seen a single neighbor. No mailman. No garbage truck. It was like the house existed, outside of town. Or outside of time. I started wondering if anyone knew I was here at all. I checked my phone. No signal. No updates. No missed calls. It was like I'd never existed anywhere but here. And the voice. It started to say things I didn't understand. The sentences didn't always make sense. But they always made me feel something. Regret. Guilt. Grief I didn't remember earning. I found myself standing at the wall for hours. Just, listening. Waiting for it to speak again. I stopped going outside. I stopped answering messages. Not that there were any. I was becoming part of it. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I started to wonder. Was the house lonely? Who was he? And what happens when the house gets angry? I wasn't looking for it. Behind an old wardrobe in the hallway was a wall that didn't line up. The wood was newer. Cleaner. And wrong. I pulled the wardrobe aside. And there it was. A sealed door. The trim had no nails. No doorknob. Just would paint it over dozens of times, like someone wanted it forgotten. But behind that door, the whisper changed. Voice. Please, don't open it. We remember. It was the first time the voice sounded afraid. I backed away. For once. I listened. I told myself it didn't matter. That I didn't care. That the door could rot there for all I cared. But that night, I dreamed of it. I stood in the hallway, in the dream, staring at the door as it opened, slowly, from the inside. Inside was nothing. No room. No stairs. Just, more door. A hallway made of doorways. All shut. All sealed. I kept walking. Each door whispered something as I passed. My name. My secrets. My regrets. One said, "You already opened us." Another said, "This is where he hid us." When I woke up, I was standing in front of the real door. My hand pressed to the wood. There was a faint heartbeat under it. The voice came again. Very tired, desperate. He broke the seal. He let it out. Don't be like him. And then. We remember. I don't know who "we" is. But I don't think they ever left the room. And now, they're waking up. I tried to fight it. I set up my phone one night. Hit record. Laid in bed staring at the ceiling. At 3:11 a.m. I heard them again. The wall behind me pulsed. The whispers crawled under the drywall. But when I checked the recording the next morning, nothing. Just 30 minutes of dead air. No voice. No sound. Not even my breathing. It was like I didn't exist. I sent it to a friend. Asked him to listen. He said the file was empty. Corrupted, he called it. He stopped replying after that. The next time I tried calling someone. Voice. They never liked you. I didn't recognize the number. But I knew the voice. Same as the wall. The more I ignored it, the more it learned my name. Voice, closer now. You don't belong out there. You're one of us now. I unplugged everything. TV. Internet. Electricity. But the walls still whispered. They told me secrets. They told me who my mother cried for at night. What my friend did in college he never confessed. The exact date I would die. I didn't believe them. Until I read it in my own handwriting. In a journal. I never bought. I don't remember writing it. But the last entry said, "You belong to the house now. Don't fight it. It remembers." And beneath that, just 3 words. Etched deeper into the page. Voice, echoed through the wall. Let us in. I think I'm losing time now. Sometimes I blink, and the sun's gone. Or the stove's on. Or there's dirt under my fingernails, and I don't know why. I haven't been outside in days. Or maybe weeks. I think they're trying to break me. Or maybe they already did. I told myself I wouldn't. That I wouldn't become him. The one who gave in. The one who opened the wall. But that night, the voice said my name. The voice echoes faintly, "Let me out." Not whispered. Not murmured. It said it like it knew me. Like it had been waiting. I followed the sound to the corner of my bedroom. Where the wallpaper had started to peel. Tearing sound. A faint childlike giggle behind the wall. Behind it, was drywall. Scratched. Splintered. Like someone had been clawing from the inside. I broke through it. One swing. Then another. Then the hole breathed. I don't know how else to describe it. It breathed. When the dust cleared, there was a tunnel. Narrow. Barely wide enough to crawl through. And carved into the wood and stone were fingernail marks. Hundreds. Maybe thousands. Names carved beside them. Some scratched out. Some were mine. Voice, gleeful, inhuman. You're almost home. I don't know why I went in. I should have turned back. I meant to. But I crawled. Through dust and rot and nails. I crawled until the house was gone behind me. Until there was only breathing. And then I saw it. At the end of the tunnel. Crouched low in the dark. Was me. But not me. It had no eyes. Its skin was like wax soaked in mildew. But its smile. It looked relieved. Like it had been waiting its whole life for this. Voice mimicking my voice. Told you not to talk back. Then a sudden loud thump, like hands slapping on wood. I tried to scream. But it lunged. And when I opened my eyes, I was back. In the house. On my bed. Just like before. But the mirror, the one I hadn't touched, was cracked. My reflection was still smiling. The ad said, charming old townhouse with history. Cheap rent. Quiet neighborhood. No questions asked. I moved in on a Wednesday. The last tenant just stopped paying. No forwarding address. The landlord seemed jumpy when I asked. I thought nothing of it. Houses this cheap always come with stories. It was quiet. A little too quiet. The kind that makes you hear your own heartbeat when the fridge cuts off. There was one room that had been sealed. Drywall looked newer. But not professional. Almost like someone did it fast. In a panic. I left it alone. For now. Time passes, night settles. Clock ticking. The rustle of sheets. A faint whisper. Whisper, far off, childlike. I missed you. I thought it was a dream. That first night. But the second night. I was sure. Door creak. Something moves faintly in the walls, soft dragging. It started behind the bedroom wall. Like nails tapping. Or someone whispering through old insulation. Voice, faintly familiar. You're finally back. Beat. Silence. The clock ticks louder. Then, a laugh. Soft. Gleeful. Not human. I told myself it was a draft. A pipe. A nightmare. Until I found the words. Sound, slow scraping, metal on wood. Scratched into the floor under my bed. 3 words. Low, shaky. Don't talk back. I've started hearing the voice more clearly now. It says, he left something behind. And that I'll be next. Not today. Not tomorrow. But the house always remembers. And once it starts whispering your name. Soft beat. Whisper echo, you're one of us now. You don't live in the house anymore. The house lives in you. Thank you for listening to tonight's story on Mind Twist Horror. New horrors arrive every day. So keep your eyes closed. And your ears open. Subscribe, if you dare.